Regular board meeting Monday, May 24th, 2018. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the best Pledge of Allegiance I've ever heard.
Great job on the pledge.
Yeah, that was spectacular.
Yeah, that was a great Pledge of Allegiance.
Bad practice. Bonnie, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Boba.
Here.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Here.
Mr. Gottman.
Here.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Here.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Here.
Mr. McIntyre.
Here.
Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Mrs. Warning.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here. Comments from residents on agenda items. We have one signed up. Casey, would you please come down to the microphone? Mosofsky?
Introduce themselves as well.
Yes. Hi, I'm VJ Cherapoli. You probably know me. If you don't, hi.
My name is William Wren. I'm a senior.
My name is Jocelyn Blackburn. I graduated from Gateway High School last year.
My name is Liz Temple, and I'm also a senior.
My name is Jillian Blackburn, and I'm a sophomore.
The reason why I did that, I just wanted to see the expression of those teachers who had these children years ago when they were this big. Go right ahead.
All right, so with me right now, I have a statement from the AP Latin 5 class on behalf of all of the language department of Gateway High School and Gateway Middle School for that matter. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Gateway School Board. My name is Casey Mosofsky, and with me, I have some Latin students, past and present, who all have the same concern about the language department that I do. Recently, I've heard that a new requirement has been set up at the middle school for 7th grade students looking to take a language in 8th grade. This proficiency has been raised from an 85% previously to a whopping and absurd 95%. In front of you today are several top 10 students of the senior class and one prospective valedictorian. If this 95% requirement was implemented back then, several students, even some students that stand in front of you, wouldn't be standing in front of you as members of an AP Latin 5 class. Personally, I graduated 7th grade with a 93% reading. But here I stand, a graduating senior, 2 days left of school. I'm graduating with a 3.7 GPA and standing as the president of the JCL club here in Latin. If this policy was implemented back then, I would not be standing in front of you as a Latin 5 student, as I had stated previously. This policy will greatly decrease the amount of people in language as a whole. For perspective, my 8th grade Latin class had around 30-some people, which is amazing for a Latin 1 class. But now, with this requirement, this will drastically reduce the amount of 8th or 7th graders that are able to take a language in 8th grade, resulting in a significant drop of language students, which would effectively cut Latin and even German from the Gateway language curriculum. As a school who prides itself on academic excellence, as is stated in our mission statement, it is peculiar to me that we take more liberties to lower the GPA requirements for football players so that they may play their sport. But the requirement to take a language, to take a class that expands our knowledge of worldly culture, is raised to a 95%, which entirely could depend upon the teacher that you have at one time. A tough grading teacher that might not grade as easily as other teachers, but you might put in the same amount of work and deserve the same grade as someone sitting over there with an easy grade who got a 98 in the class. The impact of this change will most likely be drawn past the middle school, as many of the students today can explain. Ultimately, this will affect the entire Gateway Language Department. One of the reasons that parents choose to go to Gateway rather than some other districts is the quality and reputation of our education. And neighboring districts are cutting programs such as music and other languages as well. I think it's important that we keep our language department here at Gateway intact. I also hear that certain teachers at the middle school are encouraging students to take Spanish over other languages because Spanish is quote-unquote easier. And I think that's unfair to phase German and Latin out of the picture, as both offer great programs and great extracurricular trips that give so many fun memories to kids. Gateway Great is often a phrase thrown around by the administration, but classes like these, like the students you see in front, are where a lot of this Gateway greatness comes from. It doesn't just come from excellent progress we've achieved as a district with standardized tests. On standardized tests, the students that do not achieve this new 95% proficiency in 7th grade reading are sentenced to test prep in 8th grade. Some of these students don't need any more test prep. They've already had enough. The skills they have are sufficient to get an advanced on these standardized tests. Ladies and gentlemen, I implore you, examine this issue and reconsider this absurd 95% reading requirement that forces certain students, intelligent students albeit, back into test prep, of which they don't need anymore. We thank you for your time, and please help keep Gateway great and reverse this middle school decision. Thank you.
Can I ask you to repeat that really well-stated presentation in Latin now?
Am I able to say a few words too? Can we just pause for 1 second? Casey, that was fantastic, and I agree with you 100%. I have one question, and then before you talk, I was going to ask Dr. Chakey if he could verify this information for us, because I had a meeting with Mr. Telly today regarding my own son, and our discussion was how 8th grade in particular was going to be opened up to languages across the board in more of a way than it has in the past. In the past, if you didn't do well in math and English, you were forced to take double classes, and now they're going to open up a 9-week option to all students, regardless of performance, to take language. So what you're saying is contradicting everything that I was under the impression of from the principal in my discussion today. So before you continue, I want to verify the information with our assistant superintendent for the high school, middle school level, since he's in charge of curriculum.
As I'm sitting here, you made some valid points. Excellent job. And I'm happy to let you know that I spoke with Mr. Telly, and we had a conversation a couple weeks ago. If we're going to do our equity work throughout the district, then we want to remove any type of systemic barriers that may exist. And you're pointing out something that we see as a systemic barrier that could actually box out a few students from taking a language. So Mr. Telly has removed that 95% stipulation, and he is going to consider parent requests. He's going to update the students and the teachers and everyone else within the community at tomorrow's scheduling meeting at Gateway Middle.
You can comment it still if you'd like to.
That's okay.
It's kind of after the thought, isn't it?
It should be a 95%, but that's our takeaway. We're good.
We agree with you 100%.
Okay, Val, you wanted to take this one?
At this time, let me start at the beginning. Mosside Middle School had a talent show a couple weeks ago, and I sat in the audience. Believe me, they have a lot of talent at that school, but there was one student that really brought tears to my eyes. I contacted his teacher that evening and to see if he could possibly sing tonight at our board meeting. I'm glad everybody's here because I don't think you'll have a dry eye here. At this time, I'm going to ask Mrs. Kristen Seneca to come up and introduce Mr. Patrick Mandreza.
I think for the teachers that are in my building, he doesn't need much of an introduction. I think that everybody knows Patrick. He's very friendly, and a lot of our teachers come in to say hello to him. So this is his time, not mine, but I just want to say that sometimes I'm an autistic support teacher, for those of you that don't know, at Mossai Middle School, and sometimes we don't always have the opportunity to see the talents that our students have because we just don't know about it. And one day, see his curiosity, he's looking back there. He approached a keyboard. I bring in a lot of things for my kids to, have, and he approached a keyboard and started playing Amazing Grace, and we were all, oh my gosh, crying. And the next thing you know, he was singing. So when the talent show time came up, we prepared, we practiced, and we auditioned, and Patrick made it. So he's gonna sing. Actually, I wanted to say at the talent show, there was a little bit mix up with the music, but he kept going. We had to start over, and I think if it were me, I would have went off the stage crying, and he stood up there as proud as he could, and he got through it. So he's gonna sing a different song tonight, and so with no further ado, I think I'm gonna let him go as soon as he's done checking out the sound system here.
Back when I was a child, before life removed all the innocence, my father left me high and danced with my mother and me, and then spin me around till I fell asleep. Then up the stairs he would carry me, and I knew for sure I was loved. If I could get another chance, another walk, another dance with him, I'd play a song that would never ever end. How I love to dance with my father again. Oh, when I and my mother would disagree, to get my way I would run from her to him. He made me laugh just to comfort me, yeah. Then finally make me do just what my mama said. Later that night when I was asleep, he left a dollar under my sheet. Never dreamed that he would be gone from me. If I could steal one final glance, one final step, one final dance with him, I'll play a song that would never ever end. 'Cause I love to dance with my father again. Sometimes I listen outside her door, and I hear how my mother cried for him. I pray for her even more than me. I pray for her even more than me. I know I prayed for much too much, but could you send back the only man she loved? I know you don't usually, but dear Lord, she's dying to dance with my father again. Every night I fall asleep, and this is all I ever dreamed. Thank you so much. Not getting any better. I say we're all done.
Yeah, that's good.
Meeting adjourned.
This is what you guys do for our students. Thank you.
Feel like we should adjourn. Section A, minutes of previous meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Rucci. Questions or comments on section A? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, Bonnie?
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Motion carries. Section B, bills, financial reports. Mr. Schott.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Section B, resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves sections B1, list of bills, B2, monthly financial statements, and B3, budget transfers, as listed in section B at the Monday, May 21st, 2018 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rucci, second by Mr. McIntyre. Question, comments?
I just had, I was just kind of rifling through quickly tonight, just saw a few large numbers that maybe I lost track of and just wasn't familiar with. But Mr. Brown, there's a number of repairs at University Park, like for 6,000, another one for 9,000. Can you maybe just touch on what happened there and what that was about? If
I
memory
have to
serves?
see what they are offhand, but a lot of that was our plumbing replacements.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, one other on I don't know if it was on list of bills or budget transfers, but I noticed there was two checks going to the 360 group for the 2,500.
Yes.
Did we miss a month, or are we doubling up, or?
That was for March and April.
Okay, are we not just doing it every month, or?
Well, I think what had happened, they had submitted an invoice subsequent to our cutoff date for a meeting.
Okay. They just got it in too late, so we had to
Correct.
double up. Okay, just checking.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have a roll call, Bonnie?
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Motion carries. Section D, personnel agenda. Ms. Crump?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 6 as listed in Section D for the regular board meeting of Monday, May 21st. We do have a few additions to the agenda that were added after the study session that I'd like to call your attention to. Under Section 3 for transfers, we have added 2 names. Under Section 5 for supplemental contracts, we have added the 1 additional contract, and under volunteers, we have added 2 additional volunteers that are listed at the end.
Questions, comments on section D? Seeing none, Bond, can we have a roll call, please? Is
I need a motion and a second first.
there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rucci, second by Mr. Gottman. Questions, comments on section D? Now, can we have a roll call?
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich? Aye. Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Motion carries. Section E, conference and conventions.
Dr. Chaky?
Thank you, Dr. Short. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes the following conferences and conventions as listed in Section E.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Rucci, second by Mr. McIntyre. Questions, comments? Section E. Seeing none, Bonnie, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein?
Aye.
Motion carries. Section F, administrative resolutions. Dr. Short.
Dr. Rossi?
Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes as appropriate the following items, 1 through 26, as listed in Section F. The first two, we have final approval of new textbooks that were placed on public display beginning April 26th. Number 2 is the grant pollinator flower garden, accept the grant for Evergreen Elementary School.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
So seconded.
Motion by Mr. McIntyre, second by Mr. Ritter.
Are we only approving those two, or are we approving the whole section?
We have a number of other items that we'll address and then have a roll call vote.
Fine.
Dr. Rossi?
Number 3 is facility agreements for the Gateway Midget Football and Cheerleading, Greater Johnstown Career Tech, and the Fusion Dance Competition. Number 4 is approval of behavioral support and emotional support student educational services, the Delphoi Education Services. Paul, you can jump in anytime. It's yours.
I've got mine coming.
Okay. Nursing substitutes, BIATA in-school nursing services for RN and LPN. Number 6, in-school nursing services for 1 student, for BIATA again. Number 7 is renewal of the Waterfront Learning District Cyber School Allegheny Intermediate Unit Number 3 for 18-19 fiscal year.
All right, I'll take it from there. Item number 8 is the approval of service agreement with CTI Water Treatment Solutions for heating and cooling water treatment services for the 18-19 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit C. Item number 9 is approval of disposal service agreement with Shred-it for the 18-19 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit D. Item number 10, appointment of school dentist for the 18-19 fiscal year. Item number 11, approval of change in school physician and approval of change to Exhibit A in a corresponding professional services agreement as depicted in Exhibit E. Item number 12 is the approval of actually, Dr. Short could take this one.
Or you should take number 12.
Number 12, approval of appointment of school board treasurer for the 18-19 fiscal year. This would be Mr. Paul Schott.
Item number 13 is acceptance of district donation received for the 17-18 fiscal year as depicted below. Item number 14, approval of depository of district funds for the 18-19 fiscal year. Item number 15 is the approval of investment of district funds with financial institutions for the 18-19 fiscal year. Item number 16 is the approval of Forbes Road Career and Technology Center budgets for the 18-19 fiscal year and as depicted in Exhibit F. Item number 17 is to adopt, advertise, and place on public display the proposed final general fund budget for the 18-19 fiscal year in the amount of $75,730,000. Again, to note that currently the proposed budget does contain a real estate tax millage increase as well as the utilization of some unassigned fund balance in order to balance the budget. Again, this proposed final budget, the corresponding document that will be posted on the district's website tomorrow, as well as some additional supplementary information, is a requirement of Act 1. The district and the other 499 districts in the Commonwealth must all approve a proposed final budget prior to May 31st. Number 18 is the 30-day public display of new textbooks for the new AP English course. Item number 19 is curriculum, new AP English 11 course. Item number 20, approval of renewals and premium payments for district insurance coverage policies for the 18-19 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit G and below. Item number 21, approval of renewal and premium payment for the current Better Unemployment Compensation Comprehensive Program, Pennsylvania School Boards Association for the 18-19 fiscal year, and is depicted in Exhibit H. Item number 22, approval of Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV federal funds, final allocation amounts for the 17-18 fiscal year, as depicted below. Item number 23, approval of Torque Advantage dispenser lease agreement with Essity Professional Hygiene NA LLC and the corresponding purchase of paper towels from Pitt Specialty Supply Inc. for new paper towel dispensers, and is depicted in Exhibit I. Item number 24, student teachers for the fall of 2018 and spring 2019, as depicted below. Item number 25, this was an addition also from the study session meeting. This is to approve the additional fees required to hire Broadband Legal Strategies to assist the district with a formal appeal to the Federal Communications Commission for disputed E-rate funding at the hourly rate of $425, not to exceed an additional $3,825 or 9 additional hours without further board approval. And item number 26, which is also added after a study session meeting, approve the purchase of iPads from Apple Inc. in the total amount of $364,475, and the purchase of iPad cases and iPad warranties from Agile Repair in the total amount of $88,125. Grand total for both vendor purchases, $452,600 for the 18-19 fiscal year, as depicted in Exhibit J. The above purchase approval is necessary in order to submit a 2018-2019 fiscal year purchase order to Apple Inc. and to reserve the district's purchase of iPads. The early purchase should eliminate the issue of a potential back order of iPads from occurring, which would delay the setup and the issuance of iPads for the 18-19 fiscal year. The district will neither be invoiced nor pay for these items until after July 1st, which is the beginning of the 18-19 fiscal year.
Questions, comments on section F?
Sure. Mike, could you give us a little bit more of a flavor of the iPad re-engineering of the entire package there? Thank you.
Sure. So the iPads will be primarily be deployed to Gateway Middle School and Mossad Middle School. Some iPads that are existing in Mossad Middle School are going to get redeployed to the elementary schools to share amongst the whole building. So this will mean 5 through 8 will be one-to-one with iPads. The elementary will be cycling out their old iPad 2s with newer technology so they can use the new apps.
Those iPads at Mossad Middle School, I believe, are years.
They're only 1 year old at this point. Now, the reason why we're cycling is because the iPads that were purchased a year ago actually had larger storage capacity. We found that it's not necessary to buy iPads with that size of storage anymore. So we're moving them to the elementary where, because they're going to be shared, they need the extra storage space, and then we can buy the cheaper iPads for the additional grade levels.
All right, and tell me a little bit about the battery capacity of some of those computers not being able to last an entire school day. One of the issues?
Existing iPads, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of problems with the existing iPads. They're iPad 2s, so the iPads, of course, are wearing out, so some will last an hour, some will last almost the whole day, but not quite, but mostly they will not last.
And so the students have to return them to a docking station? I mean, isn't that troublesome?
Yeah, the bigger issue is the modern apps will not work on them. So, for example, all the new curriculum that we're buying for science, let's say, they will not be able to use the simulations and the advanced features of those textbooks we're buying on the iPads. So we'll basically not be able to fully utilize the new materials.
And in your technology report, you said that some of those older pieces of equipment would go up for resale. Is that true?
Yes. How we're going to be handling that is one large bulk sale as opposed to individual sales, just because the technology is so old. And at this point, Apple is not releasing any updates, nor are companies releasing any apps for that generation of iPad. So if we do sell it to the public, they will not be able to use it for almost anything at this point.
Did I spot a note in there somewhere that said that Apple would buy back some of those older technologies for refurbishing? Did I understand that correctly?
Not Apple, other companies.
Okay.
So people who do want to maintain their old iPads, or actually some of the components in the older iPads are compatible with the newer iPads, those recyclers, refurbishers will use the components to upgrade other iPads.
All right, so the last question, are you happy with this, IT upgrade for all the students here? I mean, this is a really big rollout, purchase and rollout. Tell me what you think about this.
It's a loaded question, but I think it moves the district in the right direction.
Why is that?
We put the technology in the hands of the kids. They have more access to it. So even right now, if you count the number of devices throughout the whole district, we are almost at one-to-one, and in some places we exceed one-to-one, meaning we have more computers than students. The problem is the technology is not in the hands of the kids, or it's not accessible. So with this, we're basically putting in the hands of kids to make sure everyone has it through the entire day, so everyone can utilize it.
And we're moving more and more toward electronic books, and so Dr. Rossi and Dr. Chakey would, if we wanted to, ask them, they could tell us about how the use of this new equipment would be able to have the books that we purchase, the licenses for the book materials that we purchase, keeping refreshed and updated as needed. Right?
Yeah, and I'm hesitant to use the word books because
right.
that
What do you call
implies
it?
you just read.
Learning units, or
it
was the secret
well,
word for that. What was that? Resource, OCRs, or
OER.
OER.
Yeah, so I mean, it could be videos, it could be
Open-ended
interactive
resource, that's
lessons.
what it was.
It could be anything. It could give you real-time feedback if someone's on the right track or not. So it's more than just a book on
It's
an
like a
iPad.
dynamic book, right?
Yes.
Any other questions from me? No. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on section F?
A question on item 16. Mr. Williams, maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. I'm seeing a large number there for the administrative budget for the replacement roof on the building. I'm assuming that's the building at Forbes, correct?
You are correct, sir.
Now that basically $1.2 million that we're contributing, how does that fit in, like percentage-wise, with what the other districts are paying that also utilize Forbes? Are we paying, like, how did that number come about?
By the amount of kids that each school district sends,
Okay, so it was based on,
percentage.
Student population.
okay. I just wanted to verify that before we voted on $1.2 million. And I would like to make a motion to approve everything but number 26. I'd like to maybe have further discussion on that.
And what would be the impact of not voting on number 26 tonight, or perhaps tabling it?
Yeah, we already have a motion.
Yeah, what would be the effect of that?
Well, that's the problem. I think he really is making a motion to table that.
Well, that specific item?
No.
Or to talk about it more right now? What's your-
I think we need to discuss it, but I don't think we're going to get the answers right now. That it's a large number.
Right.
Well, we discussed this at a curriculum meeting last week.
I know we did. I know we did, but I didn't see the $364,000 number. I don't remember seeing that at the curriculum meeting. And as much as I want every kid in this district to have an iPad, I'm not sure that this year is the best year to do this.
No, I'm surely going to disagree with you on that, Mr. McIntyre.
I would ask Dr. Rossi, if we shelf this for a year and or maybe, shelf it for now and maybe look at the number and see if we can maybe whittle that down a little bit to make it a little bit more palatable. How bad is that going to impact your plan as far as everything you discussed at curriculum?
But we'd have to just reevaluate. We have to take a look at our current inventory, kind of reevaluate that and prioritize, and then go from there. So I'd have to take a look at the numbers, take a look what we have, the courses that we're planning on using the technology, and come back and give you an update.
Okay.
Right, so the books are based on the curriculum's based on the books. The books are based on the computers on which the books can be dynamically displayed, so it's sort of linked together, right?
Yeah, for
So that-
instance,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
the eighth grade, we're using the OER, and the teachers have been working very hard to create these flex books. In order to use this technology, these resources, you do need the technology, whether it be a Chromebook or an iPad. So if we would if we would just buy textbooks, we could be spending $30,000 or $40,000 per grade. So potentially, in lieu of textbooks, if we were spending this money on textbooks, it could cost anywhere between $60,000 and $80,000 if you were buying new textbooks, depending on the subject.
As opposed to $364,000. Is that correct?
That's correct, but all the kids would have the iPads. So if you were just talking like science classes, we could scale that back to maybe science classes.
I got you.
Any other comments?
Is this a motion to table that?
No,
or is
it's
that-
not.
I misspoke. I forgot. I lost my place. 26 items. I forgot that there was actually a motion at some point.
Roll call, buddy.
You said one more question. I have one question. Number 5, with the nursing substitutes, will this almost guarantee us, Mrs. Crump, that we will have a nurse in place if we have any missing from any of the buildings?
No, it will not. It just allows us to be able to call an additional company to get them.
Ms. Crump, what are we doing with the buildings that you can't get any help in? What do we do about those buildings without a nurse?
Just like we do with the teachers, where they cover each other when they don't have a substitute, the nurses also will cover each other when they're within the buildings.
Any other questions?
I have a question to follow that. Okay, so going on with that, with nurses thing, you're saying nurses will cover other nurses. So you're saying a nurse from like Evergreen would cover Ramsey?
The principals kind of work out between themselves as far as who covers each other. So if one finds out that they don't have a nurse, they call the other one to say, can I borrow your nurse? And they set up a schedule between the two buildings. They look at the med schedule and then go from there.
Is it safe to have a building without a nurse at any given time?
Kids come back for class all the time. No nurse.
Are there other companies available to look into?
We can do that.
If we can do that, I just feel that we have more issues with students nowadays, that I don't want any buildings without a nurse in. If we could look
Can I just
further.
clarify that this is not our nursing policy? This is just passing a company that is providing substitute nurses when we have them.
That is correct.
Just so everybody understands.
It would actually help get coverage in the schools.
Exactly.
Correct.
That is correct.
See what you did?
Roll call, Scotty.
Mike, we have roll call.
As soon as Paul gets the mic over here. Okay. Mr. McIntyre,
Yes on items 1 through 25, no on item 26.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Bova,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Yes.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye on everything except number 26.
Dr. Kalkstein,
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Section G, resolutions presented by board members. We have one.
Yes, we do. Me to take? Okay. This is to approve the purchase of Gateway Bowling Club team jerseys for the 17-18 fiscal year. It's to purchase 25 Nike brand jerseys at $30.40 each for a total of $761.25 for Gateway Bowling Team Club from Century Sports.
Or a motion?
Do I have a
Motion.
motion?
Second?
Second.
Motion by Warwick, second by, second.
George?
For Lapsevich. Questions or comments? We have a roll call, Bonnie.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
No.
Mr. Bova,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein? Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
No.
Motion carries.
Comments from residents on non-agenda items. Anybody signed up for that?
No, no one signed up.
Does anybody wish to address the board at this time on non-agenda items?
Nobody?
Have reports. Start with,
Yeah, that's fine.
start with Dr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. This Wednesday, Forbes Road Area Vocational Technical School will be holding its graduation ceremony here at Gateway High School. I'd like to invite everyone, if you're not doing anything on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, to attend the graduation. Also, on Thursday night, we have our annual Gateway High School Senior Awards at the auditorium, or I should say the Robert A. Reed Center for Performing Arts. I will be attending the Evergreen Grade 4 graduation this Thursday, and I look forward to that as well. Also, Friday, we will be hosting a number of our seniors at the elementary buildings as they wear or don their caps and gowns and walk through. You remember that from last year, so you'll be surprised when you see the individuals walk through the hallways with their caps and gowns and speak to the children. It's a wonderful event. Also, last week, I was notified by U.S. News and World Report that Gateway High School received the Silver Medal Award as one of the top high schools in the country. A number of prestigious high schools, along with Gateway, to receive the Silver Medal Award include North Allegheny, Pine Richland, Upper St. Clair. So congratulations to everyone and our students for achieving this award as well. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Dr. Jake.
Nothing further.
Mr. Rossi.
Nothing at this time.
My man.
Mr. Dice.
No, nothing.
Mr. Gottman.
First. Okay, first, usually this is time where I like to talk about the artwork that we have behind me. Well, in this case, we just got ourselves a black and gold wall, so I'm not going to talk about that. Although it is a very nicely painted wall. Going all the way back to the beginning with our foreign language students who spoke, I just did want to say that when I was in high school in 12th grade, I don't know if they still have the award, but I did win the Leadership Excellence Award in German, so yeah, I do know how much it means to our foreign language students. So yeah, I am glad to see that the 95% requirement has been dropped. And the other thing is, I would like to ask the administration for the next school year, when they are looking into the sponsorships for Gateway, that they could open it up for the sponsors to be placed on our football field. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Gottman there. I think if we're looking, a lot of talk has been about the scoreboard and opening that up for advertising and generating revenue. I think we should be looking at every avenue possible. And I like the idea of using, a section of that turf to maybe put an appropriate ad and generate some revenue that way. Outside of that, I want to congratulate all the Gateway seniors who are going to be matriculating here soon, as well as all of the elementary kids moving up and all the middle kids moving up, moving on to bigger and better things. I'd like to thank all the teachers here for being here tonight. It's a very nice, strong show of unity, and I surely expect to see all of you at the next budget meeting, which Mr. Schott will be.
The final public hearing will be Tuesday, June 5th, 6 o'clock, right here in this room.
Okay, I expect to see this many people there for that. Outside of that, enjoy your summer. Thank you.
Mr. Ritter.
Sure, Micah, could you launch my little PowerPoint presentation? Thank you very kindly.
We're going 4D.
All right, so this is a quick recap of the Gateway High School track team. Next slide, please. Track at Gateway, at the high school consists of 9th through 12th grade, boys and girls. There are running, jumping, throwing, and relay events. The meets are held as dual meets, tri-meets, invitational meets, and championships. Practice sometimes is held indoors when it's very cold, icy outside. In the hallways, gymnasiums, in the weight room. Outdoors, we hold it on the all-weather track outside. Tom LaBeouf is the head coach. He's been there many, many years, and our hearts go out to him. He's done a terrific job this year with the kids. He's got a tremendous set of assistant coaches and one volunteer coach who will go unnamed, which is me. So next slide, please. Guess what? We were the winner of the Mars Area Invitational. We took first place there. I'm just going to give you a highlight of some of the things that... Next slide, please. Give you a highlight of some of the things that happened this season. Just a very small, like 2-minute snippet. So Courtney Jackson, maybe you've heard of him from the football and basketball fame. He's also on the track team. He got the MVP, Most Valuable Player Award, for his performance at Mars Area in first place in the triple jump, 5th in the long jump, and he was part of the 400-meter relay team. Our 400-meter relay team took first. Nana and Derek and Luke and Jeremiah all did great as well. Next slide, please. The 400-meter relay team took first. A few other folks, Sarah, Shelley, Elijah, also did great at that meet. So you'll be able to review these during the playback, so I can just speed through these. Next slide, please. We also had a freshman and sophomore invitational highlight, a meet, and these are the highlights from those. So Christabel, she got a 3-foot-tall MVP trophy award. So this young lady took first in the 300 intermediate hurdles, second in the 100 meter hurdles, third in the long, and fourth in the 200. Some other youngsters did great as well. Next slide, please. And then that brings us to the Whitfield Championships a few days ago, which was held at Baldwin High School. Guess what? Courtney did great. Third place in the 100, the long, and the triple jump, so he gets to go to states in a few days. Jeremiah got an 8th place in the 300 intermediate hurdles. Sarah and Corey did great in the jav and the shot put. Next slide, please. And guess what? Our 400-meter intermediate, 400-meter relay team took second. These kids get to go to states as well. So congratulations. Next slide, please, to the guys in the circle up there. So, well, very, very well done, guys. Next slide, please. And so listen, parents at home, you got nothing for the kids to do this summer. You might want to sign them up, get them out there for the cross-country track, which begins just after the first week of July and prepares kids for all of the athletics that come up later on in the year. So parents, if you want to, get in touch with Mr. Randy Rovesti. He's our athletic director, and there's his information. I'll say it out loud. 412-372-5300. That'll get you to the main office, and then you can ask for Randy from there. Thank you very much, Micah. Next. Congrats to the winners of the previous election that was held a few weeks ago, and kudos to everyone who stepped forward, winners or losers. Thank you all for running for office and stepping forward to serve. Next, a few weeks ago, I went to the Pennsylvania HIMSS, that's the Health Information Management System Society, Health Information Advocacy Day, and I advocated for the reduction of opioids in our area. And so one of the things I gathered as a takeaway was that it might be good to send some information home with the parents, because it's one thing to try to teach the students here about biology, chemistry, physics, etc., and to tell them to avoid opioids, but sometimes the parents need that information as well. So I'm going to eventually make a suggestion that we might add a one-page summary of what opioids are, what to look forward in your students, and send that out to the parents maybe once or twice a year, unless we already do that. But that was a great suggestion, and I wanted to pass that on to the staff here. And the last thing is, during the summer, the next couple months, I'm going to be investigating a technology called telemedicine or telehealth. that could help augment the availability of clinical professional services in schools. That is, having a machine that has a camera and a microphone and an LCD screen, so that some professional can take a look at some student and offer a clinical recommendation or opinion. You know, this kid is really sick and needs to go to the emergency department or whatever. So that's a new avenue that's being created right now in Pennsylvania, and I think it can and should be used in many schools, especially the rural schools. So I'm going to be looking into that and perhaps making a recommendation in the next couple months as to what Gateway might be able to do with respect to telehealth and telemedicine. For example, with respect to a nursing shortage, this might really, save a life. So that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Bova.
Thank you, Scotty. I've got about 40 things here I'd like to go through. I'm new at this. I only have 30 or 30. So. Actually, I have a couple. First of all, Dr. Short mentioned the walkthrough for the students in their elementary school, which is a wonderful little tribute. Unfortunately, a couple of Pitcairn parents brought to my attention recently that their kids can't do this because some folks removed their school from our possession. So they actually wanted to know, like, what kind of strategy do we have for them? What do they do? So I suggested that, obviously they know who their elementary teachers were who have been reassigned, so perhaps they could track them down.
Divide and conquer, perhaps.
We could do that. I know someone who has some contacts with the proposed school, so they could walk through the school if they wanted to. But, yeah. So, anyway, we should certainly keep them in mind. I've been told it's as much as 50 or 60 students, perhaps, so that seemed a bit, yeah. So I'd appreciate that. Somehow we've managed to sit here all night and not mention school shootings, which I guess, makes sense. I was thinking that the school shootings are kind of like storms. When you were a kid, you heard, when you hear the thunder, you count until you see the lightning and you know how close the storm was to you. Well, when we hear about a school shooting now, we do some quick geography about how far it is from us. Then we take a look at the school. Is the school like ours or is it different? You do these kind of mental calculations about how susceptible we are. And I think it's becoming clear that there is no formula. There is no calculation. Gateway's been proactive to the extent that they've become something of a model in terms of providing security. But from a personal standpoint, I was thinking that when there was an attack on an airplane, the federal government sprang into action and created the TSA and came up with a whole bunch of ways to try to keep us safe in airports. I've seen no large-scale response from the federal government. Maybe that's our fault. We haven't demanded that somebody look at this on a more macro scale. If you're lucky enough to live in a school district where you have some resources, then your kids are perhaps a bit better protected, or so you pray, but we don't know. So I would strongly suggest that we begin to get in touch with our representatives on both the state and the federal level and basically demand more than prayers and hopes and wishes before and after. So, and it's easy to say, but when you go home tonight, if you don't have a list of who your representatives are, find it. It's easy to do. And we need to start calling and emailing and doing the things, demanding that something be done. Enough is enough. Everyone says it every time. You can debate gun control. The time for that debate's over. We need security. So I appreciate that. Two other quick...
On that note, Mr. Bova, I did send the board an article over the weekend about school shootings becoming the new normal, unfortunately. And we met administratively this morning. I know Dr. Chakey I was in his office. And we're constantly reassessing what we have in place. Yes, we've been contacted by so many school districts across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania inquiring about our school police force and the methodology used to go down that path to ensure, at least to some degree, that we have an armed officer within our buildings. But it doesn't stop there. It starts with the teachers, everyone within those buildings, understanding that if they hear something, if there's anything posted to social media, you need to let somebody know. And there are clear signs from the Santa Fe shooting that this individual, quite frankly, I was kind of shocked at some of the garb that he was allowed to wear into a high school. And I think our high school folks know that that would not be tolerated here. But we always have to keep our antenna up and understand that it could happen anywhere. So we will be meeting. We will have committee meetings. We do have some ideas to enhance what we already have in place. And hopefully by the start of the school year, next year, you will see some of those items and we'll be able to talk about those at the first day. Sorry, Mr. Boba.
No problem. Last thing I'd like to suggest is this. Folks who sit in these panels often say, you know, if we had a crystal ball, we'd know what was coming and then would, you know, be able to prepare for it. And of course, we don't get those for some reason. But last week, there was an article in the Post-Gazette about Plum School District. And the Plum School District has a problem with finances. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, how many have read the article. It's worth checking out because without a significant change in the way most schools do business, everyone's headed to where Plum is. Wildly in debt and without much in the way of options for getting out of it. So take a look at it. It was in Thursday's paper in the local section, and you know, be part of the solution. You know, that's everyone. We tell the kids that, you know, be part of the solution. We need to figure out how to do this in a way that allows us to buy the tools that we need, to provide the security, to pay teachers, obviously, but we also have to be solvent. So we're not a business, but we have to operate sort of, kind of like one. And unfortunately, we can't raise the price of Big Macs or, you know, take a few fries out of the package. So we need to come up with smarter ways of doing this so this school continues long term. So that's it. Thank you, and thank you all for coming out. Great seeing, you know, not the empty chairs out there.
Yes, thank you. First off, I want to send congratulations to the high school baseball and softball teams. They finished their section with first-round playoffs, which they lost, but they had great seasons and had a great time. To our junior high section champs. Not a problem. To our junior high school, their baseball team, section champs, the WADA section champs, congratulations to them. We have kids that do go above and beyond in both academics and athletics. And to our athletes that will be in Shippensburg this weekend, our field and track stars, I know what that's like. It's a long weekend, but it's great for these kids. It's an experience that they really like. Mr. Washington, we've been through a lot of those, but thank you. Also to the Rotary, thank you for your donations of the iPads to our third grade students. We got them. Little things like these go unnoticed, but we do have organizations that do come forward and help out our students, but I just want to thank them personally. Tomorrow, our fourth grade band concert will be held at the high school at 7 o'clock. It's a great thing with all these fourth graders getting together. If anybody here on the board can make it, and anybody out there in TV land, take a break and go see these students and how they perform. Again, thank you to Patrick and to Mrs. Seneca. Special needs students are such an important part to me. I was very fortunate to be working with them when I worked for the school district, and something that I really have a deep interest to, and anything that I can do to show what all you teachers do every day. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, but thank you again for getting them out here. Last week, we had our robotics club up here giving us a presentation. Nothing was brought up tonight, but I'm going to bring up that I make a motion that we give our robotics team money at least to cover what Google gave them that they backed out of, which was $3,000. But if we could find it in our budget to maybe double that to $6,000, these students go out above and beyond to different schools, do performances, get into a lot of activities showing them what to do. So I am making a motion now to put on the agenda for next month, $6,000 to go to our robotics club.
I don't think it would be proper to second that at this time.
You mean to make a motion tonight, Val, or you just want to put it on the agenda next month?
I'm making a motion.
On the agenda for next.
You want to vote, you don't want to vote tonight?
Not a vote, I just want to put it on the agenda.
That's great.
Okay, to our police staff. You guys and women are faced every day with unknowns. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for every day not knowing what you could run into. So again, thank you for everything you do. And I do get upset when some of you guys are not wearing your vests every day, but even with the hot weather, I just hope you keep that in mind. It's just for your protection. Just one other thing. I have to bring this up, and I know I go through this a lot. It's a very touchy situation. I support all you teachers, and you know that. I get a lot of backlash because I wear my shirt. I can't thank you enough. You don't know how much you all mean to me for what you did for my children alone. I see what you do for all these other kids that you have. I support and can never thank you for everything that you do. I wish we could give you the world. We can't, but I support you in everything that you guys want. So I'm not taking it away from any other board member. It's just my feeling, and this is my way of saying thank you to all you guys. And with that, have a great And with that, have a great summer. Oh, one other thing, sorry. I have to do my Monroeville thing. I'm on the Monroeville committee for the 4th of July. We are having a bike contest for all ages 6 to 11. Get out there, get your bikes decorated, bring it down at the 4th of July parade. We will meet at Pro Bikes at the Miracle Mile. We have a lot of great prizes for these, and also for students. Well, I shouldn't say students, kids ages 0 to 5. We have a wagon contest. The parents can be in there to pull the wagons, but we have a really great time. So get out there, support also the municipality. And with that, thank you.
Mr. Lapswitz.
Yes, thank you. Just two things. Me and Val Warning are on the athletic board for the last 3 years. There was a first student that had little problems with his grades and his education, came up to us, and me and Val put him under our wing and make sure he got the proper tutoring, whatever he needed to bring his grades up, because he had some tragedy in his family a couple years before that, and I didn't want tragedy with him. So, but I'm very proud to announce I heard 2 days ago, Jerron Brewster is going to Penn State University on a full ride. He was the one me and Val helped. And also, I want to congratulate Bob Brown and Michael. I'm on the buildings and grounds, and they keep me informed of everything, and I couldn't have a better team with Val, and I appreciate all your help. Thank you. That's it.
Dr. Kalstein.
Nothing further this time.
I'd like to thank everybody coming out tonight.
Speak in the mic.
Sorry, sir.
I was going to say nothing further, but now I have to talk. No. I did want to comment on the tax increase. None of us take it lightly to raise taxes, especially myself. But, you know, when you look at the community and you hear what people say about Gateway and what they want Gateway to be, the things that make Gateway great is all the extracurricular things and the language and the arts and the music and the programs that we have for our kids that teach them creativity and the things that the other school districts around us are cutting when they need to save money. And every day we turn on the news, and there was just another school yesterday, local, I won't say the name, $10 million deficit. Okay, this is happening all around us. The state, in my opinion, is not coming through the way they need to for funding and changes. And we want to keep Gateway on the path of excellence. And to me, that means that we're not going to cut programs for our kids. So when you're looking at a couple $1 million deficit and, you know, the mall closes and we have to give them $1 million back because the stores are closing and the assessment's going down, and you think, okay, what am I going to cut to try to make up for this? Do I cut programs for my kids, or do we have to look at a tax increase so that we can keep Gateway strong? So I'm just sharing my heart with you all and my fellow board members feel the same way. We don't take it lightly to raise taxes, but we also don't want to see programs for our kids reduced, and we want to see Gateway continue to be a school that people want to come to because we still have those programs and we still have those services. We're not paying to play, and we're not cutting art, we're not cutting music. Are you understanding me? So with that, though, is our commitment, and we talked about this as a board and with the superintendent, of looking at hard ways to save money in the future. Because I think we all have to realize that education in Pennsylvania is changing, Monroeville is changing. Look around you. We have to face the reality that, you know what, the mall's probably not going to raise its assessment value, and there could be more stores that leave the mall. So in being fiscally responsible, we have to be willing to make hard changes. And nobody likes change. I mean, you see that when we put the sale of the middle school up, looking at options. A man with options has power. We have to look at all of our options. And this board was committed to looking at things for the future. I'm talking not next school year, but the year after that, making hard changes and finding creative ways to save money without cutting programs for our kids. So I just want to put that out there to you guys and to, you know, the taxpayers in the community, that our overall goal is to do those things, to find ways to save money without cutting things for our kids in light of a potential tax increase. We'll be having a Building and Grounds Committee meeting to address some potential ideas. I don't think that date is set yet, is it?
June 14th.
June 14th. So I would encourage people to come out. It is great to see a lot of people in the audience, and I appreciate everybody coming this evening. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Yeah, I apologize. There was one important thing that I forgot to mention. I'm not actually standing in front of this big of a crowd. I think I panicked. I had the opportunity earlier this week to do a little bit of a tour with Dr. Short through the high school. As many of you know, I'm not a Gateway graduate. I'm not terribly familiar with all of the facilities. But the one thing that really struck me was touring the cafeteria. I was unbelievably impressed and just blown away by the facilities, the cleanliness, how organized it was, the quality of food that I saw, the interaction with the kids and the staff working in the cafeteria. But most importantly, my experience in my high school cafeteria was probably similar to a lot of people that went to a multicultural, multiracial school. You know, even, I mean, I'm not that old, but a long time ago. My cafeteria, when you walked in, it looked like it was Jim Crow law. There was the black kids sat on one side, the white kids sat on the other, almost without fail. And in the middle, there were a few outcasts from either group that didn't even really sit together, but just kind of sat alone. And with that being my experience of what a cafeteria looked like, walking into Gateway's cafeteria, I was just floored. Every table was a perfect mix of religious backgrounds, sexual orientation, sex, race, everything. And it was quiet. I mean, there was chatter, but it was relatively quiet. It reminded me more of like what you'd see like in a professional office building in their commissary or their cafeteria. You know, everything was very, very professional. I was just really, really touched by how these kids get along And I think that speaks to the culture at Gateway. And I think that is, all of you folks in this room are a very, very big part of that. So I thank you for guiding our kids in the right way. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I'd just like to thank our singer Patrick this evening.
I get 2 claps, come on.
Thank you, John. Also like to thank Casey and the gang up there for coming out. Appreciate it. And I don't want to be redundant, but I think this was one of the, since I've been on the school board, it's been a long time, this has been one of the, I think, better years all around at the school, and I think you guys should be thanked for that, along with the administration. But hats off to you guys for a great year this year. I just want to send that out. For that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Because of Jack. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thank you.